Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Harbor Podcast. We might be changing the name to the Kino Cast. Not sure yet, but right now it's the Harbor Podcast. I'm Adrian, aka the Kino Cowboy. We got Scott, the expat. That stale joke is even staler today.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about Withnail and a British film from '87, set in '69, and it is very interesting film, one of my favorites, and
Let's get it. You said, I'm sorry to interrupt. You
Yeah.
said this movie, like as soon as you watched it, it like got into your top 10,
no, not top 10.
top 25.
This is just, it's like one of my favorites. I'm not gonna
Okay.
put a number on it.
That is the thing. Always do hate it when people go, I always hate it when I always go like, man, it's one of the best. And people are like, really? I'm like, yeah, top 200. That's what I mean. When I say it's like something is one of the best. Like, this is one of the best action movies ever. Top 200. Okay.
Let's see. Because I mean, if you're watching this, you probably have seen the movie, I hope, because like,
if you're watching any of these, watch the fucking movie because we spoil the fuck out of them in every podcast.
We talked about La Dolce Vita last time, and now we're
if the 7 people who watch that, if you
nobody I know, there are people on like Facebook and film posting that may have seen these, but like no one I know have seen these two movies we're talking about. So it's kind of like, anyway, it's about two guys living in squalor, failed actors, trying to be actors,
starving artists in London, thespians.
They're kind of getting down to the wire, like trying to figure shit out, and they're pretty torn up, banged up, basically.
Yeah, they kind of lived like you and I did in college, except they had talent. Like having no cups and drinking coffee out of a bowl.
Yeah, with a spoon. He's like,
yeah, except we were drinking Monster. We were drinking that Monster.
So
we're American.
We've got two characters, Withnail and I, and you never know the name of the guy, the protagonist. It's because it's I, but in the script his name is Marwood, so let's just call him Marwood because I don't want to call him I. It's weird. So
Withnail's weird enough.
Yeah.
This movie only made £1 million at the box office. I don't think the title helped them. This is one of the strangest titles for a movie ever. Like, it gives you exactly zero information on what the movie is about.
I mean, there are plenty.
You imagine there's two people.
Just like two people. Marley and Me. That's another one.
Marley and Me. But Marley's a name. Withnail is like.
Withnail's his last name.
It sounds like a weird, shitty metal band. I don't know why I'm saying.
You're not British.
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not.
I don't see a problem with the title, but
I mean, it's not a problem. It's kind of like a weird title. This is gonna be. I'm gonna be breaking your balls this entire podcast.
Okay. Well, you can tell Marwood, aka I, is like, he's kind of like, this is kind of a reflection for him in a way. Like, it's in the moment, but like, when you think of the movie as a whole, it's like he's thinking back to this time in a way. And like, let's get into it. Like,
what do you think? What gives you the idea that this is Marlowe reflecting on the events of the movie?
It's not reflection. It's just like he is the only one that has an inner monologue. Like, like he narrates parts of the film and stuff, and it's in the present, but like, what I'm trying to say is this whole movie is about him having repressed homosexual feelings for his friend Withnail, and he's trying his best to stay away from them, and that's what the movie's about. And Uncle Monty represents this and throughout the film.
Okay, can I say something?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just stupid. I didn't really get that.
No, yeah, that's like the whole. That's what Uncle Monty really represents, like the whole time.
Oh, I thought he was just. I thought the uncle was just an old creep. I didn't know he represented anything.
Well, I mean, like these things are actually happening on screen, but like it's a little bit more to it than that. Like the whole
Okay,
time.
I think this movie might have like flown over my head. I don't know if it was my mood when I was watching it. I don't know if I expected a different movie. I don't know what it
Huh.
was. It's weird. I had a weird experience watching this movie, man. It was
Okay.
I think because I kind of expected a comedy, but it wasn't as laugh out loud comedic as as
Oh
British.
yeah,
It's
no,
very
it's
dry.
just kind of like two guys trying to figure shit out.
I would say it's almost a comedy in the way that you think of like well
Well, I mean,
theater in theater when you think of a comedy you don't necessarily think of something that's like laugh out loud funny all the time you
sure.
know
And also it's
um
British.
also it's British so it's not funny that's not true. I love British
You know,
humor.
it's pretty comedic, but also like
When a lot of it's situational and then
sure.
some of their dry wit. And also there's the classic Marlowe straight man Withnail. His name's fucking Withnail. He's a crazy drugged up doing like street drugs with no names because it's the twilight of the 60s.
Yeah, that's an important thing. And then he he he's so like strung out that he wants to drink what's that shit called? Lighter fluid or whatever. He like chugs it and then pukes it up. Um and Marwood is like writing stuff down in his journal and he's like, man, like this is like getting to like it's about to come to a head if we don't do something. And so they figure some shit out and they go talk to Withnail's uncle Monty, who is very flamboyant and kind of strange. And the only way they can get the key to his little country estate is Withnail goes in private and talks to him. And what Marwood doesn't realize is that he tells him that, like, they're lovers and that they're going to go out there together and stuff. And that's where he gets the key. But first, before we head out to the countryside, I want to talk about their friend Danny, who is like chilling in their house,
The
comes
drug
over.
dealer?
Yeah. And he's just like, he has these like short monologues of like nonsense, and it's beautiful. And it's like, he reminds me of somebody from my own films.
Who, Keith Cologne?
The mid he's like a British midman.
I guess kinda. He is. I
Yeah.
mean, he reminds me. He reminded me of a lot of people. Look, I'm just gonna say, in college we hung out with some weird motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Some of whom we were still in contact with and love, and then some of who were just fucking weird dregs of society. Like, I don't even know how our paths intersected with some
Yeah.
people that would walk around. I mean, not even people we'd hung out with regularly, but people would just like show up. We'd hang out with them for a couple months or whatever. And there's this, and this movie is obviously critical of it being the twilight of the 60s and that sort of just narcissistic, I'm going to say the B word, boomery, sort of like everything's about me mentality, like actors have. And the I don't know, the pseudo intellectualism of the 60s and that drug infused false enlightenment. And I guess that's what I focused on in the movie was the sort of cultural surroundings of it being in the late 60s. But I mean that character he was very charming and the guy who performs him was great. I mean all the performances in this movie are great.
Yeah.
Some were more subdued than others. I mean some are definitely not. But uh yeah, I don't know. He just the 60s was his time. I mean, you even read stuff from the 60s. Like I tried to read some Tom Wolfe electric Kool-Aid acid test, and I was like, you just like romanticize this whole chapter about them going to a Beatles concert, being too high, and then leaving. And you tried to romanticize that. And that's all that really happened. When you look at it, that's really what happened. Is people were too high at a Beatles concert and left.
And what that's so purposeful in the movie because like it's at the very end of this decade, people are trying to cling on to this, but like society is starting to like sober up from this, and now with Nail and Marwood are like they're what do they have? Nothing. Like they have nothing to show for it. Like they're really trying to like get like parts in like plays or like in TV and stuff, and like trying their hard as they can now because they're
Yeah. And there's
it's
that entitlement of
yeah.
it, that artistic entitlement. I have a dream, I want it more, therefore that dream must come true.
Right. And at one point, Withnail gets offered a part of an understudy. He's like, "How dare you, give me this part?"
Dude, that's fucking, yeah,
He's
it's
like, "I should have the
ridiculous.
lead," and like ruins that chance. It's like, okay,
What you do, just murder the lead actor and then you get the part. It's
right,
easy.
yeah.
There's a movie. We should have
Like
that.
their actions at this point are unhinged. Like they're dealing with like all the shit in the sink and stuff, and like finding liquor and stuff. So like they're like, fuck it, we need to take a break to the country, get our minds straight or whatever have you.
Right. And their idea of a break to the country is
Just to
probably
avoid
different
all
than
the
yours
present
and mine's.
problems.
Yeah, but then also it's squalor in an old cottage in the English countryside with like a dirt floor and pigs and shit or cows and shit all around them. Um, Trying to kill a chicken like Woody Allen trying to cook a lobster, only worse.
Yeah,
I
it's a
don't know.
distraction, I guess,
Of course it is.
and
I
it's
will say the
beautiful.
production design of this movie was very dense, very detailed, and impressive in that because it seemed naturalistic. I mean, it
Yeah.
felt very lived in. It didn't feel like they tried to make a messy apartment. It looks, well, I guess sometimes at my apartment looks like, because I have a pothead roommate. He doesn't speak English. It's okay. He won't listen to this.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it looked for real, like big time. Like
it
when
looks.
like the apartment and shit, I was like, fuck.
Would you
This
say
before.
it looked greasy?
Yeah.
Well,
That's
here's the thing, and this is a very British thing. British has a more codified class system than the United States. We definitely have one, but I feel like we only recently, like hell, even in like the past 10 years, maybe it's just because that's when I've been an adult, but maybe in the past 10 years, like talked more about class and had more class consciousness in the United States. And one thing I noticed about the production design in this movie, and obviously the contrast is just to kind of have a sense of unease, but they did have like paintings and candelabras and kind of nice things in this old apartment. They're in Camden Town, London, but I've never been to London, so I don't know what that's like. But I feel like a lot of this was Withnail is kind of old money. He's that old money artist, which is like I think a lot of
right.
people.
Yeah.
I think I may have said this. No, I said this last time. Dolce Vita podcast is like so many artists and like artsy types come from like old money and inheritance, and
Right.
nobody wants to admit it. But it's like that's why you're able to do these things because you don't have to, like okay, bad example, but like J.K. Rowling is like the exception of like work being a single mother, like doing all this shit. the um, but so and
And
that
he's
that adds to the
obviously
fuck wittiness of his
he's
character.
not Marwood's like, well, you can ask your dad for money again, and it's kind of like come down to it, I think his dad's fucking sick of giving him money.
Yeah,
So, and then obviously Marwood doesn't have, he talks about his dad or whatever, he doesn't have the same money. So he's kind of trying a little bit harder to get a role or, like an acting job or something. Obviously, either of them could be working at like a grocery store or something, but of course not because they're actors, you know. Instead, they want to live in squalor, which I understand. It's kind of like me.
yeah. This is the '60s. You can actually support yourself with that job.
Yeah. Um, what was I saying?
Well, we were talking about the old money in the apartment
Yeah.
and how greasy that apartment is.
Like my sister who's only 18, you know, she's coming up. She doesn't know everything, but like she was like, actors have to suffer for their art. And I was like, that's fucking not true.
That's bullshit.
And it just makes me think
D-
of
Does your
these
sister
guys.
sister want to be an actor?
I don't know. I mean, she more of an artist. I mean, you know, like
Okay.
artists have to suffer for their art. Like, shut up.
I
That's
mean, like,
some Hollywood fucking bullshit.
you could say that about anything. If you want to be a carpenter, you gotta suffer. You gotta fucking cut wood and get dirty. I don't know.
And it's
That's the
like,
thing. Why are artists any more special than any other profession? I've cleaned up a child's pee before, and as a librarian. Okay, and
yeah,
then my boss got on to me and said, "Hey, that's my job. I have a master's degree." And I was like, "Okay." Like I don't know. I really hate that artist mentality. Even more so in our late COVID world and all the reflection we've done over the past year. Um,
well, it's interesting how just like the writing of this movie makes everything sound so like nice and sophisticated, even though they're dealing with fucking stupid bullshit. You know, because it's obviously there's thought put into like the meaning behind the movie. It's not just like stoners going to fucking hang out or something, you know.
right.
It's just like the beautiful countryside and like man, and the photography of like this kind of place I've never experienced. Like we have country obviously in Arkansas, but it's not like this.
No, it's completely different.
And it's like
Which
I would
in this
love
movie, I do like this movie because it feels very British. It
yeah.
feels like it's made by an English person for English audiences.
Yeah,
It
this is
doesn't feel like
the
it's trying to even something like just for example, The Father. Like obviously that felt English. They were in London, but it didn't feel. I wouldn't call. They could have set that movie in New York, and it wouldn't have changed the movie a ton,
right.
right? But this movie has a very strong cultural vibe to it, and that's one of the things I like most about this movie because it does, I guess, kind of similar, to, not exactly the same, but kind of similar to Seven Samurai. It successfully transports you into 1969 England,
Yeah.
and that's something I've never really seen in a movie done so well and done in a way that's not romanticized. It's almost like anti-romanticized.
Yeah. That's
Um, which
but
is
still
interesting. It's like anti nostalgia, which is actually something I really
yeah.
like in movies because I hate nostalgia. I mean, I think you and I personally, even in our personal lives and even in our artistic lives, like almost butt heads over this because I feel like
Yeah.
and this is not criticism, this is just personality difference.
Yeah.
Like you're a more nostalgic person, and I'm more like, fuck it, let the past die, kill it if you have to. Kylo Ren's scorched earth, my past is trauma, move forward until I die sort of mentality. Um,
Oh,
which
by
I, which
nostalgic? Yeah, I think so. Just a
yeah,
bit.
you're having Mario Kart Double Dash. I mean, right
Um,
now.
I'm such a fucking contradiction, dude. Because I think of myself as like a nostalgic futurist.
You do. That's why you like retrofuturism.
Yeah, but you know, like it's just like they gotta get the like. It's almost like they have to go to the country or else they're not gonna be able to figure shit out. They,
There's a desperation,
yeah,
which is interesting. That it's like we have to go schmooze with their uncle,
yeah.
and that's awkward. I've never done. I don't know if you've. I've never really asked a relative, even though they're just asking for a key, which is not that big of a deal, really. They're not even asking for money, but the I've never done that where I've like really asked a relative for something like that.
I don't
Or
have
I've
I don't have relatives to ask for shit.
yeah, exactly. And then well yeah, also what am I gonna I could ask my parents for money, but I don't. The but the I don't know. I've never done that. And there's an awkwardness in that whole scene. And I think the uncle, oh, what's his name? Monty,
Mm,
played by the same
Ferdinand
guy who plays Uncle Vernon in Harry Potter,
Richard
Wait,
Griffith.
no, not Richard E. Grant, Richard Griffiths.
Yeah.
Um, and isn't he like trashed, fucking drunk that whole time?
Yeah, he's already pretty
Are
drunk
you there?
to visit him. Yeah, I am. You're like freezing.
Okay, good, good. Okay,
Okay, yeah.
hopefully that's not our problem.
Um
This is what I got. Um,
Oh yeah, you're freezing up,
you know,
son.
I don't know. It's a lonely thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like you don't really get to know much about him until later. And obviously he's because he talks about later how he just briefly mentions this guy Eric when he's like, you can't let this thing just move past you. Like when he's talking about like Withnail and Marwood like being in love or whatever. And so like you can tell he's alone and that he's been kind of like sad about it. And obviously that's why he was so willing to hand over his key, but you don't really figure that out till later. But I like his character, how eccentric he is, how pissed off he gets over the cat like running around, and he's like calling him like a fucking evil swine and shit, and like his whole house is just like so gaudy and beautiful, and
It is incredibly gaudy. It's almost like it's almost Willy Wonkish. I don't
and it's like
know.
I love when characters just like are just like ooze like originality and like just like you suddenly 2 sentences in you know exactly who this person is even though you know nothing about them. That's
Right.
good, great characterization.
Well,
And
here's the thing. The characterization in this movie is excellent. I was going to say, you mentioned the writing earlier and how they take the stupidest bullshit and make it sound sophisticated and musical. There's a musicality and a punchiness and just this sort of rhythmic, almost maximalist writing and this very British wit.
yeah,
Um, that normally I don't like that in movies because it takes me out of the movie. It lacks verisimilitude. I usually, not always, I usually prefer very more naturalistic writing.
right,
If
right,
something like Juno, which I actually like that movie. I mean, when I saw it when it came out, but something like Juno and the way they're talking and that hipster speak, it takes me out of the movie, you know. And then I think about the fact that I'm watching a movie. But
right.
in this, it's done so well because I feel like each of the characters have their own rhythm. It's almost like if there is a musicality to the language, each character is speaking a different genre. Because I have problems with people, I have problems with Aaron Sorkin personally, who is
Yeah.
very divisive, I think. Because, like, I mean, I'm not going to say he's a bad writer. Of course not. He's a brilliant writer. But, like, it takes me out of the movie. And I've talked to you about this with Social Network before. I know you jerk off to that movie. I think it's, excellent movie. But, like,
I don't
there's
jerk
scenes
off
in the,
to it.
you don't?
I think if we have to put a number, I think it's like an 8 out of 10 movie.
Oh,
Like
really? I thought that
really
was you
good.
were
I
super
think it's
into
great
Social Network.
for what it
The
very piece of the
it
times.
is
But yeah, I have problems with Aaron Sorkin too. This movie, the way it's done is very purposeful. They're both actors, both very dramatic.
right. It fits the character voice, and
Right.
it doesn't feel like the writer is speaking through different characters. It feels like there's this world, this almost remembered world, which is why there's that surrealist aspect to it. Because like
Yeah.
Marwood is doing that sort of narration through the movie, which I kind of forgot about until you mentioned it. Like, so each character has that musicality, but it's informed by the character and not some writer pontificating and like Aaron
Yeah.
Sorkin, the newsroom sort of bullshit. You
Yeah.
know, just write a fucking essay. Just I don't know, you're a writer. Write like I don't know, just you use a different medium. Do stand up, something. I don't know.
Shit.
Do Aaron Sorkin doing stand up. And let me tell you another thing about the White House. Okay, however he talks, I don't know. the
I wonder how
it,
much countryside, like, as we go further into history, we're getting less and less countryside to go escape to. And I wonder if I were to visit England today, how much would like nice, beautiful countryside is left.
I'm sure it exists. Probably not as much. I mean, you got to think about a few things. Yes, there's increase in population, but there's also increased urbanization, so more people live in cities.
Mm,
So actually, and it very much depends on the country, because I think a lot of places, well, in America and definitely in Spain, by the way, it's a big problem. So many people are moving to the cities, and this is going to change post COVID. But like these small towns are like losing their economies and shit. So I don't know, 1969, small towns probably had more self-sustaining economies. Now, I mean, somewhere like Malvern, Arkansas, which is like 10,000 people, they had the Acme brick factory, but I think that's shut down. I'm not sure, you know. Um, but anyway, this British countryside, it doesn't look like a fun countryside. I don't know. I've heard people talk about like England is beautiful, but it seems there's no trees. There's no trees anywhere. I don't
Oh,
know. I don't know.
that's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool, but there's also like it's vacuous. I don't know, but I guess it does work well. You're in nature, but you're in this sort of isolated nature. You're in a cottage out in the middle of fields. You're not necessarily completely surrounded by like forest and fucking bears and shit like you might be in Arkansas. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just interesting. I like when movies capture something about the world that might not be around in that sort of state forever, you know.
Yeah, of course.
And it's just
I mean,
anyway.
you even have like, isn't the world's end kind of about that? Like the corporatization and the Starbucksization of like small town England?
Probably.
Go
I
back
haven't
to
seen
those
that movie.
pubs. And
I
then,
haven't
no,
seen
you
that
haven't
movie
seen that
since.
movie? Oh,
No, I'm saying
shit.
I haven't seen it since like it came out.
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of they go to all the old pubs and they all kind
Yeah.
of look the same and they've lost all that character.
Yeah.
Because that is that one thing in this movie. They do end up going to other pubs and little places, and there is a quaintness to it.
Yeah, for sure. And there's even a little pub out in the countryside that they go to, and there's the barkeep there is drunk as fuck, and they're like Withnail tells them that he was like in the army or something to get like extra drinks and shit, and they're like they've gotten vegetables at this point because like they don't have shit to fucking eat, and they have to like kill a chicken and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But then the poacher that they were told about comes in, and he's got like an eel down his pants, and he like pulls it out, and it's like still half alive, and like beats the shit out of it. And then he's got a pheasant that he gives to the barkeep, and like they try to buy it from him, and I'm like, God damn, like this is like the redneck equivalent in like Britain,
Oh yeah, yeah, dude. Every country
it's
got
just
that,
like
bro.
as a kid, I'm like, well, this fucking redneck bullshit lifestyle that I've seen growing up isn't prevalent anywhere else, but it's just in its own way, you know.
Oh, it
And it's
everywhere.
fun
You
to
got
see.
your fucking bogans in Australia.
Yeah, and it's just
Yeah,
fun to see that kind of
north, and it's also like north in the UK is like the south here. Like north
yeah.
is like the shitty redneck part. The more you go, no offense, Scotland. This is just what I've heard. I might be wrong, but like the more north you go, is like that's my ancestry. The earth. But like the more northern latitude is the more rural. Here, I mean, I don't know. Here you might have like west of Madrid is like Extremadura, where it's like pig farmers and they're like, feeding pigs acorns for whatever reason. I don't know, it's the same shit. It's class. There is a lot of economic things you can comment about, a lot of class things that you can, and that's just so ingrained in British society, in a way that's fascinating, and it's a very European thing, and it's very frustrating. Because I'm like, who gives a shit?
Ooh, excuse me. But it's also fun. Like both of them are paranoid in their different ways. Um, like Marwood's like constantly trying not to like get into trouble at the beginning. Like they go into that pub and like some drunk guy comments on the perfume smell coming from his boots, and he goes into the bathroom and he's like having like almost like a breakdown just over that one comment. He's like, what do I do? We got to get out of here, this and that. And then he reads on the sign on the bathroom, the graffiti, it says, I fuck arses. And he's like, who fucks arses? Like, who's this and that? And it's like, dude, get a fucking grip. And I feel like even though Withnail's the one who comes from money, Marwa's more of the he's kind of being drugged down by Withnail, and he's trying to like get kind of out of it. And like Withnail's kind of like only half trying to like get out of this state, and he's kind of just spiraling.
Right, because he's an entitled old money prick.
Right.
And Marwood's part of the he's part of that proletariat, bro. He's clawing his way out of poverty. He ain't taking any of that old money bullshit. It
Side note,
incurs laziness.
TikTokers are just now figuring out what like the whole like proletariat like
What
term
are they
is. So
saying?
it's so
Dude, they
funny.
don't nobody fucking knows. It pisses me. Nobody fucking is talking about the right shit. Okay? When they say this, China's not communist. There's never been a communist country. Bernie Sanders is not socialist. Shut the fuck up. Like it's just not that's not what these words mean. People just throw them around. Not that you shouldn't listen to me anyway. I'm a fucking what amateur podcaster. I don't know. We don't even have this shit on Spotify yet.
Hey, you've been to college though, so you're entitled too.
Oh, I am entitled.
Yeah.
For
But,
what? My humanities degree? Have a podcast about movies. Didn't even go to film school. Try to comment on film. I don't know, studies.
fuck film school. No, but
Dude, fuck film school. Dude, no, fuck film students.
it's
If you're listening to this, you're a film student, go fuck yourself. I had to share a building with you
funny.
assholes when I studied journalism.
I figure out certain things um about films about film school that I don't know because I never went. And like I'll be like, oh, this makes sense. Cause like I'm wondering why all these teens and 20 somethings are always like jerking off over Wong Kar-wai, and like why so many people know about him compared to other Asian directors. And it's
Yeah,
because
I don't even know who he is.
he's a common director that they show in film class for cinematography. And it's like I learned that like the other day. I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. It's like these kids like try to act like they know all this like foreign cinema and stuff, and it's like this is the one they all learned from film school this whole
Yeah,
time.
it's
Jesus.
part of the curriculum, which is fine. That's
It's fine.
great. But
It's
like,
just
don't
funny
act
as
like you
fuck to learn
discovered
that.
it. That's like me saying I discovered Battleship Potemkin. Like, oh man, I'm so
Yeah.
enlightened because I discovered Russian propaganda films.
Yeah, it's like they try to use this to like elevate their like knowledge of
There's
cinema. You learned this
no.
in fucking school, dipshit. Like,
Yeah,
congratulations.
what kind of you learn at school, you nerd? What kind of freaking nerd learns stuff
You
at
gotta fucking
school?
browse obscure forums from 2007 like me.
Dude, yeah. I
Or
get all
shit
my
like you.
recommendations from fellow DeviantArt users.
Yeah.
That's how
What the fuck? What are we talking about?
I don't know. We're just shit. I went on a tirade shitting on film students because they were
um,
annoying. Maybe if I went to USC, they wouldn't be as annoying. But like, I went to University of Central Arkansas, so
oh yeah.
they were like, "I'm gonna be famous." I'm like, "Shut the hell up." Your favorite movie, God's Not Dead 3, filmed at my alma mater. That's how good the fucking film school
Beautiful.
is. There are actually some very nice professors in that film school. I probably shouldn't shit on it. The students, though.
Anyway.
Anyway,
They're both paranoid in their different ways, and it's paranoid enough to where they think that the poacher guy's like trying to kill them just because he's walking outside of their cottage with like a gun, which it turns out he's just like looking for him, and he brings them like a rabbit later and stuff, and they're like freaked the fuck out, thinking like he's about to like kill them and stuff, and it's like you push yourself over the edge in these ways, like you have to like almost try to get yourself into this headspace. And it's just like, dude, like they need to reel it in, obviously.
they either
And
yeah, they need
that's
to
just
quit drugs or fuck each other. Just get it out of their system.
yeah, no, but it's just
Well,
like
Marwood's not really doing drugs. Does it say that at any point that Marwood does any drugs? He drinks some, but
no,
that's it.
yeah, they both drink, and then they're all smoking that fat fucking joint at the end
Oh
too.
yeah, they're smoking that joint at the end. But the
Yeah,
harder drugs, like the designer drugs or experimental shit, is just Withnail. Okay.
yeah, it seems like that. And like so they're so like freaked out by this poacher guy that with nails like fuck this, I'm sleeping in the same bed as you. And of course, as soon as they're sleeping in the same bed together, Uncle Monty appears pretty much out of nowhere and shows up, and they think it's the poacher, but it's him. And he's like, "Oh, I shouldn't have interrupted. Sorry." And then now they're hanging out with Monty for like the rest of the trip. Interesting. Right as they get in bed together, that happens. Yeah. Huh. Almost like these are bringing ideas into Marwood's head that he doesn't want to think about, and he's pushing back. Because he has a soft fondness for Withnail, and he's regretting having to leave Withnail behind because he knows he's gonna accept, once he accepts this job, they part ways, but we're not there yet. So now they're hanging out with Monty, and of course Monty's like, he brings like nice cuts of meat and like more
Yeah.
wine and stuff,
I
and
mean, for being British food, it all looked very good.
yeah.
Yeah, he's bringing like nice wine, cuts of meat. Is he doing that thing where he apologizes for the wine? Like, I don't know. I don't remember if he does that. Like, sorry, I only have Pinot Grigio or whatever. I don't know. I don't know wines.
Fuck Pinot. No, Pinot Grigio is okay.
It's fucking wine. It's red wine and white wine. I know
No, it's
that.
not. Some are
Pinot
fucking
Grigio is
dry
not
and
red
fucking.
wine.
Some are dry and gross, and then others are nice and fruity and like.
You don't like a
Really
nice
bubbly.
what about good dry wine? You know like a like there's good dry wines that are shitty.
I'm not a dry, really dry
You
wine guy.
worked at an Italian restaurant, Adriano.
So what? I like the more like fruity, full flavored wine.
Oh, oh.
Yeah.
So now who has repressed homosexual organs?
You heard that.
Just kidding. I love it's Pride Month.
Even like and like Withnail like cooks his shoes basically. So now he doesn't have shoes to go walk around in. Really, he has like basic shoes, and so like
Why did they if they had money to it doesn't matter if they had money to buy the pheasant off that guy and buy beer why didn't they have
they
the
did
money to
buy a
get
pheasant. Well, I mean
they
they
tried to
had enough.
right
Well, yeah, they had enough to buy some like a few drinks, but he also like swindled his way into
I don't
drinks
know
by saying he was in the army.
yeah I guess they
But
couldn't buy sandwiches
yeah, Uncle Monty's like, okay, we're going out to the town for luncheon at 3, and he's like disgusted with them because they both look unkempt, which is fair, and so he like gives them money to go get new shoes and like a fucking to shave and stuff, and instead they go and fucking get drunk.
which is
And
a piece of shit move.
yeah,
That is, I mean, that's the thing. Marwood goes along with it though, because he's such a
yeah,
like beta cuck bottom this whole movie.
yeah, and then
Uh,
they go into that little restaurant with like the pastries and shit, and then everyone in there is like hoity-toity, like nice, rich British
yeah,
little.
they're the youngest people there by about 90 years.
Yeah, and they're drunk and like fucking, they're like asking for cake and shit, and like
Yeah, they're like banging on the table,
the lady's
demanding
like,
it.
yeah, we're actually closed. It's like, okay. Discrimination, but like they're all British. I don't know. It's funny, and then
Yeah.
they try to call the police and shit, and then obviously it cuts after that, and they're back at home at the cottage with what's his name, Monty, and Monty's trying to pin the whole thing on Marwood. He's like, you know, you know, acting like Marwood's like got like a trance on Withnail and stuff, and that's really interesting. And but then Monty blames it all on their love for each other and stuff, and it's just like,
How's he blaming on their love for each other that they needed to get drunk?
yeah, like like he's got like this whole he's like got like a power, like a hold on Withnail. He's like Monty's like talking about how he doesn't want to get into his like trance or whatever too. But then that's when he really starts hitting on Marwood.
Dude, can
And
we talk about that
yeah,
scene?
which one?
Because the where Monty breaks into his room and like almost rapes him.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, this is
But
kind of homophobic.
is it?
I don't know, kinda. It's like he's trying to get him to. I don't know. It's almost like here's this rapey gay man. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it.
It's
Also, the fact that they had him wearing heavy makeup the whole scene is
yeah.
like wearing
Well,
like
I
blush
mean,
and
it's just
stuff.
what he likes to do, I bet. I don't know. I'm telling you, it's representation of his creeping desires for Withnail that he's suppressing. That's
Oh, yeah, I believe you.
that's what this character is. And so when you see it like that, it's not like it's played for laughs either when he breaks into his room.
No, it's not. It's really
But it's just like at this point it's like so intrusive that he's just sitting Marwood down and just saying like, "Look, you're repressed. This is what's going on. You need to accept this." And it's getting so bad and he's still in denial that it's like no, and he's in denial so much that he gets backed into the corner. And it's just like finally he's just like he tells a lie to Monty and is like, "Yeah, I love him. This and that. We're together. We've been together for 6 years. Leave me alone." And that's what it took to get Uncle Monty away. And then, of course, magically, there's no goodbye. He just leaves in the middle of the night. It's all very purposeful. As soon as like he tells him that, and so it's very interesting.
do you
So
think
I
Monty do you
wouldn't
think
say
that
it's
really happened?
I wouldn't. Well, yeah, it happens obviously, but like it's all purposely done in that way to be, you know,
Could it be almost misremembered, that scene, you think?
could be.
Could be.
That's why like the way it's like the story is told, it makes me think like this is Marwood remembering all this like in a previous time before he went on to become an actor. It's not
Right.
explicitly said, it's just how it's presented to me and how I interpret it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I can buy that. That makes the movie more interesting anyway, so
Yeah.
I'll take it just on that merit. I was like, okay.
And it's just like this movie's like way more well known obviously in Britain than it is here. Like here I've never like I only
You when you recommended this to me and you gave me the title, I was like, what the hell are you talking about? But
yeah.
It's
Well,
Criterion, right?
it's
There's a
Criterion,
Criterion
yeah.
release,
And I was
and
like,
then it's
well,
very
how have I never
popular. I
heard of
was
this?
looking, it's voted, it's considered one of the best English comedies ever, British comedies ever made. It's
Yeah,
cult classic
it's
there.
weird how just because it's even though it's in the same language, even just because it's from a different place, it's not well known at all here.
It's very British and not
Yeah.
in a way that's easily romanticized or palatable. It's not what do you call it, Downton Abbey, so it's not like romanticizable really. It's quirky. It's
Yeah.
it's not Monty Python. It's not silly universal humor.
Right.
Although there are some, and even Monty Python, there's stuff that's more popular in Britain and stuff that's more popular in the
Yeah.
States. There's some Monty Python sketches I just don't that are just too British for me. I'm just like I don't know what's going. I don't even understand what's happening. Um, that is odd. I mean, because honestly, yeah, how many people other than you and me and Dylan and other people we've had on this podcast like would be interested in this? You
I
know,
mean, I feel like it has the
I, th-
potential for people that like
I
artsy movies, good like
right, but you would. I think a lot of people you would have to sell it to them.
well, I asked film posting months ago. I was like, "What are like some British true like Kino like movies that are like very British?" And like this was like a popular answer. And I was like, I've never heard of this," because some people answered like shit I have heard of, like Spaced and like all that, um, like you're talking like Peep Show and stuff, and like
Yeah,
I don't know. And so I downloaded this a long time ago, and then I just finally got around to watching it like 2 months ago, and I was like, okay, this is dope, and it's fresh for me, and it's like
it is. I mean, this
technically
is.
it's
I can say.
foreign cinema to me.
I mean,
So,
yeah, no, it is. It's world cinema, absolutely. And the I don't know. I don't think I've seen a movie like it, quite like it. You know,
right.
it's not completely different. It's not fucking Andy Warhol or something stupid, but the yeah, I can't make a lot of comparisons. There's elements of a road movie, but it's not really a road movie
Yeah,
because I mean it's like a buddy comedy, but it's not a buddy comedy.
right.
It's a
Right.
historical film, but also like it's not like it is, but also that's not the focal point. It's more about these characters. It's not like Back to the Future. Let's make a bunch of 50s jokes. That's a terrible
Yeah.
example, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay, so like he Marwood gets like he's like, okay, like he gets a telegram and it's like they want him for this part. It's like, okay, we gotta leave now. And so they leave now and they dip out and Withnail drives drunk basically back just so he can get Marwood back in time to do whatever he needs to do and stuff. And just like that, it's like it all happens real fast after this. Like they get back and like uh Danny was been staying in their house this whole time, and they open the door and there's this black hippie British guy in like the bathtub, and like he says, "Who's the spade in the bathtub?" It's like
Jesus.
and and Danny goes on a tirade, like a faux philosophical like monologue about the end of the 60s and stuff, but it also like it's obvious like he's kind of talking out of his ass, but also it like makes perfect sense for what Marwood's thinking about, and like everything's coming to a head for him in this moment, and while they're getting way too high and like kind of like he's like freaking out a bit, and it's that I don't know, it's it's all very beautiful to me. I don't know. And he cleans up real quick.
No, there's
Like the next scene, he like is like the next day or something. He's like clean shaven, haircut, like he's ready to like move on from this part of his life. And he like with nails like trying to like drink with him, like, hey, I got us drinks, say goodbye. He's like, dude, I don't even have time for that. I gotta go to the train station. And with Nail trying to cling on is like, I'll drink with you, I'll walk with you. And then with Nail's drinking most of the bottle while Marwood has just a little bit. And like the goodbye isn't even like this big goodbye. It's kind of just like, I'll always remember you with Nail. And then that's it. And then they walk off and he walks off. And then with Nail has his like poetry monologue. And then that's it. And it's like, wow.
yeah, it's Hamlet, which I can't comment upon because I've never read Hamlet.
Yeah. And just how like quickly he's just after all that, he's just like, I'll remember you with Nail, and then that's it. Some poignant shit there.
There is. And that's how it goes.
That's just how
And
life
there's that
is.
sort of that's how life is, and also there's that, especially with artists, there's that crab bucket mentality. I'm sure, especially with something like actors, that's the thing. Acting is a having to audition and be cast and like have permission from a director or somebody else for you to do your craft. That sounds terrible, honestly. Just the entire
Yeah.
process. If you're just a pure actor and like that's what you do, I mean, unless you produce your own show or something, but that's not what you want to do. You want to act.
Right.
Ugh.
And it's just like that's the same reason I love the ending of Superbad so much.
I knew you were gonna bring up
Yeah.
freaking super bad in this.
Yeah. It's
It
that
is. It's the same
same
thing.
like parting ways. It's sad, but it's not really,
But it's blunt because on the stroke of midnight, December 31st, 1969, it turned into the 70s, and
Right.
it happened very quickly, and there's an adolescence that ended there, you
Yeah.
know, and a childishness and a selfishness,
And
and
that's why I find this movie to be brilliant. And it's just like how casually it can like put these kinds of thoughts into my head without making it be like pretentious.
right. Well, it's not pretentious, and everything it respects the viewer's intelligence.
Right.
Also, it doesn't have to come out like freaking movies today have to come out and tell you, say what the movie's about. It's able to use cinema and cinematic language and the semiotics of that, to communicate its themes very elegantly. Very, very, very elegantly.
Yeah, and with that, I would highly recommend this if you haven't watched it. You're watching this video, like,
Yeah, for some reason you watch us talk about it for an hour and you haven't seen it. Us
um,
reflecting on the themes.
and it's like it's funny. It's like to certain people outside of my U.S. bubble, they'd be like, "What? You guys haven't seen this movie? What the fuck? You know, like what?"
I'm gonna ask. I have some British friends. I am actually gonna ask them next time I'll see them if they've seen Withnail and I,
And it's
which
like
I
to
feel
me,
like
this
that'd be
is like
weird.
fresh as fuck cinema, and like to other people, it's like old news. I bet it's
Yeah,
just funny.
I mean that's how I feel about some people. I don't know, some non-Americans who bring up shit like I don't know, one of my Spanish buddies brought Benny Hill to me, and I was like, "What?" And also, I've never watched Benny Hill. I've never like he was trying to, or a lot of I don't know, stuff from the '80s they'll reference. Which is it is always interesting because I'm always surprised. Like first, Spaniards know Ray Charles, like
Huh.
which is good. That's great. I mean, Ray Charles is essential, but I'm very surprised. Like Ray Charles of all people. I'm very surprised at what makes it over and what doesn't. Um, and I don't know that sort of romanticized view people have of America, and the way that a lot of people romanticize Europe and romanticize Britain. I don't understand romanticizing Britain that much, really anywhere. But I don't know, weather's shitty. Yeah. Well,
Shit, weather's shitty right now in the States.
dude, it's been like
Down here, down south.
I've had some swamp acid. I had a thunderstorm last night.
It's fucking June 1st and it's 68 degrees and like cloudy and rainy.
No, it's pretty muggy here. So anyway,
Anyway,
in London, I don't know. I don't know. You got any final words on Withnail and I?
um, no, 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 it's just a
A
beautiful
poignant
movie,
movie.
and
And with
it's one of those movies that I could just put on and rewatch now that because I rewatched it today just for the hell of it
you
before,
did
yeah, and
rewatch it, I'd be more interested in rewatching it after talking about it.
yeah,
I would give it some time. Also, it's one of those movies I would like to rewatch with somebody. You
okay,
know, I don't know why. I feel like that would add to it. Um, maybe a buddy, maybe
hmm.
you
Yeah,
for
maybe.
our urges and our repressions. I'll always remember you, Adrian.
Oh, thank you. I'll
I'll
always
always
remember
remember
you
you,
too.
Kino.
Anyways, thanks for watching.